So today we're having another cultural discussion, and the culture we're going to talk about is about marriage. And this came from the last cultural discussion we had about dating. And we had quite a few questions related to marriage. So I said, okay, we just need to have a whole new webinar, and it's going to just be dating. Although I have a marriage, but I have a feeling some dating before the marriage is going to get snuck into there somehow. So we'll see. And since I have never been married, and 有可能不会 get married,
Sorry, guys.
I mean, 如果你有帅哥想介绍的话, yeah, okay. Anyway, but so I've invited Erin, who is not only married, but also married to a lovely Chinese woman. Oh, there you go. There you go. See? I got no bling. I got this kind of bling. I don't have any of this bling. So why don't we start with Erin? You just give us a simple introduction. Tell them, how, when, and why you went to China. Just a brief.
Sure. So I guess the first time I went to China was 1992, and my father was studying Chinese medicine, and he dragged me and my brother, kicking and screaming, across the ocean to the distant town of Chengdu, which at the time was a very small town of only maybe 5 million people, maybe 6. I can't remember the exact numbers. I think it's doubled or tripled in size since then, definitely when you look at the architecture. So I spent 3 years there then. Then I moved back to Northern California to escape and live with my uncle for a few years, where I went to college, and then eventually moved back to China to finish a degree in Chinese language studies. And actually, it was there that I met my wife. We were both undergrads studying at Beijing Normal University, and she was brought in to help us on a translation project. We had a class in the history of Chinese law, and there were 4 of us in the group, 2 students from the University of California and another 2 students from Beijing Normal University. And we were given the task of translating a case of 2 brothers fighting over a piece of land. At the time, we had no idea what it was because it was written in classical Chinese, and neither our Chinese classmates nor us could make any sense of it. So one of our classmates said, "Hey, I know this girl. She's really smart. She's in the history department. She's got the best English in the whole school, and she knows how to do translation work." So we said, "Call her in," and that's how we met, actually downstairs in front of the Friendship restaurant, in front of the foreign student dormitory at Beijing Normal University, and ended up the 2 of us finished the homework assignment, and I like to say we were lost in translation.
I don't know if you guys will get that joke. Lost in Translation is one of my favorite movies. If you have not seen Lost in Translation, I highly recommend it. So I find that interesting because in the US, when we're in high school, we like to say we're going to go study with someone. The students always make fun of me when I do the quotation marks. But, you go and study with somebody, and then that's really your excuse to go on a date with somebody. But that sounds like that's exactly how you guys got together, too.
Yeah, and actually we were really studying together.
They were really studying. She's Chinese.
We really were studying together. Yeah, she was a good student, actually. She was always up at dawn, saving seats for her classmates. And she actually took me aside today right before this because she wanted to make sure that I didn't say anything disparaging about her. So
disparaging.
Only good things, hon. I would never say anything bad about my wife.
Of course
she is
not.
Wonderful.
She is wonderful. Okay, so Erin, I think you have to prove to our attendees that you can in fact speak Chinese.
难道他们不相信我可以讲中文吗？
我不知道，有可能就是我一个人不相信吗？
就你不相信，你早就跟我讲了中文。其实我在中国待了12年，我们之后在北京待了8年，然后就是我可能一直还在学中文，所以我们09年搬回美国的时候，我就直接搬到 Arcadia，因为我知道 Arcadia 有一个九州大华市场， 然后那边可以买很多这种中国菜，所以我们现在经常在家里做一些这个四川菜。
Oh, Ruby says your Chinese is awesome. And all I gotta say, Ruby, is no, I hate him. I'm so jealous. I think his Chinese is better than mine, right? And Ruby's
不
gonna
可以，
say, no, Angela, your Chinese is the best.
对，都是这样说嘛，你的中文肯定比我的好啊。
Okay, so let's get into the topic. So what how did you guys go from the first date to let's get married? How did you propose to
All
your
right,
wife?
well, it was a long courtship. It actually, after our first date, I discovered that she had a boyfriend, and he was actually a really nice guy. So I had to back off for a little while. Um, and it wasn't for a couple of years that we got back together. So I like to tell this story. She's going to hate me for telling this story, but I'm going to tell it anyway because she's not here. um, Basically, I was called to be on a Chinese game show, and it was 真大综艺, which is, I think, a pretty famous Chinese game show. And it was the game show for foreigners. It was like a Chinese New Year edition, and they were asking us to do all kinds of silly games and answer some questions. I got a lot of audience support, so I think the audience actually helped me win the game show. But she happened to just turn the TV on and say, "Hey!" She was at her parents' house back in Leshan, and she turned on the TV and she says, "Hey, 我认识那个老外." And so I won a trip for 2 to Tibet. And actually, it was probably a year before she called me, but I like to joke and say that she called to try to get one of those tickets, and then I tricked her into staying with me. But really, in all honesty, I think that maybe reminded her that we had really had a good start of a relationship that didn't quite work out at the beginning. So she called me back up, and we were going to go out, and she was going to come to one of my soccer games. But it ended up getting snowed, and so we stayed home. And I wouldn't let her go home. I held. She was a graduate student at the time at Beida. 她在研究这个国际关系. And I also like to joke. I say 我是她的研究毕业论文. But we were dating probably for about 5 years. And so one day one summer, I came back to visit family, and I spent the whole summer looking for the perfect ring and shouting my love to everybody. I was kind of obnoxious at the point. I have to say it was a little embarrassing now thinking back. But I was deathly in love with this girl, and I just couldn't get her out of my mind. And so I shopped all over the place. I had no money, but I managed to somehow find a diamond and get it set into a ring. And she said yes. I took her to the top of, I think it was Suma Dasha in Wangjing, and we went out for dinner. And it was the nicest restaurant that I could afford at the time. Still just fresh out of college. I had a job, but not that well paying. And we had a nice dinner. And then I got down on one knee, opened the ring, and asked her. And here we are today, still happily married 11 years later. So I think, yeah, we were engaged for maybe 2 or 3 years, and then we finally eloped down to Chengdu. We registered in Chengdu and stayed married for a few years before moving over here back to the States in 2009. Yeah, we got married in 2006. So 11 years and counting.
How did her parents feel about it?
They, I think, didn't know what they were getting into. They were very, very kind. The first time she took me home to visit, their parents said that she's yours, take good care of her, and that was much to my surprise. I didn't really know how to take that at the time. Their exact words was 女儿交给你了. And I felt overwhelmed. They were very, very welcoming and very warm, and I'm still to this day grateful that they didn't say 洋鬼子来了，我们快跑. But yeah, they were very welcoming and very warm and accepting, and they've been great. Actually, now they currently live with us here in Monrovia,
Oh,
and they
wow.
help us watch the kids and cook and keep the house. For the past couple of months, they've been back in Sichuan, and we've been missing them. It's hard to run a company and have two kids and have no in-laws to take care of everything. We're very spoiled having them live with us.
Yes, that is very spoiled. Very untypical in an American family to have your in-laws taking care of the children.
Yes.
Um,你们，我提醒一下你们，如果你要我们全部的人说话，你要改一下你的 to，不要只 to panelists，你可以 to panelists and all attendees，因为现在你们发的 to 会给我看，别人都看不到，所以如果你要全部的人都看得到的话，你要改一下那个是 to panelists and to attendees，OK。因为有的时候我不知道你们是故意的，是为了我看，还是要全部的人看，有可能是一个秘密，我不知道。Okay. What is my computer trying to do? 大家想不想看他的？Oh. Want to see a picture, but I don't know if you have a picture.
Oh, I don't know if I prepared any pictures. How do I upload pictures? I might have some pictures.
You can't upload it, but you can share your screen. If you happen to find one, you can show us what it looks like.
Okay.
Sharing the screen.
Let me see if I can find a couple of pictures. I have at least one good picture of me somewhere on Facebook or something. I'm actually kind of horrible at pictures. And organizing photos. I'm just barely getting to the point where I can actually take good photos, but here.
Have you been practicing?
Yeah, I have been practicing. Let me see if I can get
your photo.
Yeah, I'm looking for a good picture to share with everybody. This one's like really small. It's one of my favorites, but I can't quite get it up. Let's see. Photos.
Can you talk and search at the same time? I'm gonna guess that you can't, because most guys
am
can't.
talking and searching at the same time. Okay, I think I found one that's not too bad. She won't hate me for sharing this one. Now I need to get back to this and share screen. Okay, am I sharing now? Can you see?
So you click share screen, and then it's going to give you some options of which part of your screen you want to share.
Hey, look, there it is. So that's me and my wife. Can you see that one? Yay.
Wow, so beautiful, so shy.
Yeah.
Menu.
Yeah, that is my sweetheart. And she doesn't look a day older than the day I met her, except her hair's longer. When we met, she had the same kind of glasses, but she had hair down to her shoulders.
Oh, so the hair has been growing.
Yeah, all right. I'm going to stop the screen share and back to me. Okay, I hope enough, I don't have a whole photo of it.
So one of our attendees wants to know if you guys talk in English or Chinese when you are at home or in private time. I'm not sure what that means, but
that depends how angry she is. No, in all seriousness, we go back and forth a lot because her English is definitely better than my Chinese. But at the same time, we have a business doing educational consulting, and a lot of our clients are Chinese. So we go back and forth between English and Chinese, sometimes mid-sentence, 你讲中文的时候，你可能就插一句英文，然后 English and Chinese 就是会就合在一起的那种。
That's my favorite way to communicate.
Yeah, so we speak Chinglish.
Yeah, we are professional Chinglish speakers.
Absolutely. Chinglish is my favorite language.
That's funny. Okay, so did you guys have a wedding ceremony?
We actually did not. I'm still planning a wedding. We talked about having a wedding ceremony after 10 years, but we missed that mark. So I was thinking this year, but now we're getting ready to have another child. So probably, I don't know. I would like maybe at 15 years or something to have a wedding. But we just registered in Chengdu, and um, in many ways we're pretty low key when it comes to all of that. And she's a very frugal woman, so she's very good at helping us save money and keep a good eye on the expenses. I'm very happy that I don't have to worry about any of that. And so I have to get her to sign off on the wedding expense. So if we do have a wedding, it will probably be a very small wedding, just close friends and family.
Okay. So have there been any cultural issues that have made the wedding relationship difficult that you may not have originally anticipated?
I mean, I think all marriages are difficult, and there's like a male female cultural difference that is universally difficult. And what most people say about marriages, I think holds true in intercultural marriages, which is that you spend a lot of time struggling and trying to find that middle ground, and a few moments of absolute bliss and joy, and then back to that beautiful struggle of trying to bridge the gap between the antithetical male female thinking. But then you add to it the concept of, like, I heard it defined this way, that the Chinese ethos is definite and pessimistic. Like, in general, Chinese people know that bad things are happening in the world, and they know exactly how they're going to come. That's a very generalized statement, but that I saw one author write that. And then Americans, on the other hand, are indefinitely optimistic. So as an American, we kind of believe that no matter what happens, everything's going to be wonderful. And that dynamic definitely works its way into our marriage. So she'll worry about, very real threats to either our business or our family and things like that. And in some ways, I feel very blessed that I don't have to. In other ways, she gets upset because it seems like I never worry about anything. But I don't know if that's a cultural thing or if it's a guy-girl thing. I do my best to try to worry about more things so that she doesn't have to worry as much. But those are some issues. I'm in some ways less American than I am Chinese, and so I was actually really pushing to have her parents come live with us. I know that's a big no-no for a lot of American couples, and even for a lot of modern Chinese couples. They want to have their independence. But for me, it was really important that our children got to know their grandparents, and there's really no other way to have them have that opportunity because their grandparents would be living in China if they didn't come and live with us. So I am really glad that her parents come and live with us, even though it can be really tough sometimes. So, like, a couple examples, like, her parents, when they're home, they own the kitchen. And I like to cook, but they can't stand anything I cook unless it's what they taught me specifically how to cook and it resembles sufficiently the food that they're used to, right? I can't blame them for that because they're getting up in their years. They're in their 60s. If they weren't here, though, I mean, when they're gone, the two of us will. Caroline is much more open to trying, Western food, and she's a really great cook. So we get along pretty well with cuisine. But when her parents come into the picture, then sometimes it's like their food versus our food, and that can become contentious. But I try to remember to just, be respectful. It's sometimes not easy, but it's she was telling me the best way to put it is, when you marry a girl from China, you don't just marry a Chinese girl, you marry her whole family. And I feel, in many ways challenged, but in many ways blessed by that opportunity to both grow and struggle and grow and learn. So yeah.
Yeah, for sure. We have another question that I think is pretty interesting, and they want to know what attracted you to your wife. But I think you have to answer this question in Chinese because I've got one of our guests requesting translation. So instead of translating everything, we'll just give him a whole answer in Chinese.
那我刚才讲的这个故事，就是我们在翻译案子，一个中国法制史的一个案子，就是两个兄弟，他们是在吵一块地，然后他是帮我们做这个翻译。其实我觉得我们第一次认识的时候，我是看到他的眼睛，我看到他的眼睛的发光，就是很亮。我是非常喜欢这个，很很聪明，我可能这个词汇不够优质，好像就是很认真的人。所以我看到他的时候，我就看到他是一个是他很有才能，一个是他还有非常嗯有能力。其实最终我打算要跟他就是求婚的时候，是一个很小很小的一个细节，然后这就是我们可能在一起了一段时间，然后他一天到我房间来，他带了一些小的东西，就是一个朱丹的一个塑料的朱丹的东西，他可能看到我早上没有东西，吃早餐的，所以他带一个这个小东西，然后他还带一个bathrobe 那个嗯，然后这就是照顾人的东西，然后我看到他是非常对我很好，然后可以照顾我，所以我觉得这个值得值得求婚。然后我永远还没有达到他的要求，所以我觉得这个也是一个很好的地方，所以我一直可以提高我自己，就是为了满足他。
不错不错，刚有一个人又提了这个问题，就是 Is there any trouble in the different culture and do you enjoy the situation of marrying a Chinese wife？ 其实我们刚刚回答了这个问题，就是说每一个 marriage 都有困难，所以我们就不需要再回答这个问题吧。Have anything you want to respond to that question again?
Um, the cultural challenges. I mean, there's so many cultural challenges. We could talk about the cultural challenges of anything, but um,
I have one.
sure.
A specific question. Are there any cultural differences in how you prefer to raise the kids versus how maybe the Chinese grandparents or how your wife would prefer to raise the kids? Something that's specifically cultural.
Okay. Yeah, definitely. So, in Chinese culture, 都是喜欢批评人，就是，嗯，你做错的东西我要指出来。然后在西方的文化，我们可能更喜欢就是提出你的亮点，提出你的好的地方，然后尽量往这些好的地方，看。所以有时候我可能感觉，oh, there she is. Who's that?
Hi. She left. She got
Bye.
shy.
um, she's listening to me. Now I'm scared to talk. Uh, not, I think so. Hard to say. It is really tough to talk about, but I would always like to see the glass half full. So I'm always looking for ways to 我更喜欢表扬小孩，看到他们做得好，我希望把这个说出来。然后可能更多可能是他爸妈，其实他也会指出他们的错点，他们在哪儿犯的错。然后有时候在这个地方我们可能有一些冲突。其实我也是在学嘛，我也是在习惯，然后我也觉得这个中国文化很有意思，所以我现在也在反想，我说这个指出这个错误，指出这个可以改善的地方，其实真正的是一种爱。我可能一开始我可能真的是不理解，然后我们可能吵起来比较多，然后慢慢的来，我也看出了怎么有更好的这个做爸爸的这个方法，因为只要看到他们的亮点，可能没有办法纠正他们的这些地方，所以我觉得现在也是慢慢的这个两边也是在找到一个平衡，就是怎么样一个更好的方法来批评他们，然后怎么样不是完全就是说他们好，也是可以说他们不好的，用一个更好的方法来治他们的错，然后纠正他们。 所以我觉得这个还是很有帮助。
Yeah. So Emma wants to know what you think of the education differences between China and the US, but already asked Aaron to give us an entire presentation on that topic specifically. So 我们现在不回答这个问题. But at the end of this webinar, make sure that you follow one of our WeChat groups. 就是你 follow 我们的 WeChat group 还是我们的 WeChat official accounts, 所以你可以看到我们下一个 webinar 的消息, because Erin is going to do another presentation just about education. So today, let's just talk about, you know, maybe the marriage or the family differences, and we'll talk about education next time.
I will say a few things on that without getting into too much detail. Just in terms of the marriage, that education is actually something that's extremely important to both of us. And so, I mean, we're always talking just on a personal level for our own children about what are the best ways to educate our children. And that is definitely a place where we sometimes have differing views. But I've found it in my best interest to defer in many ways to her. I think my wife is really an amazing mom when it comes to our children's education. And she takes such care in finding the best resources. And, you know, she's excellent at reading to the kids every night. I will read to the kids and I like spending time with the kids, but she is just really great about doing that. And so I feel very, very blessed to have a wife who really cares and puts in a lot of time to making sure that her children are well educated, and it's a blessing.
That's awesome. So we have another question that's pretty interesting, and it's in Chinese, so maybe you can answer in Chinese, you can answer in English, whatever you prefer. But the question is, when there is a contradiction or 矛盾, do you go to solve it immediately, 就是马上去沟通，还是 calm down 再去说，就是先冷静一下再去说，还是马上去？
看情况吧。Sometimes, you know, actually, I'd say over the years, we've gotten much better at resolving conflicts. We get to know each other better. We start to see how, you know, when is a good time to engage and when is not a good time to engage, when we are the enemy, as it were, in those states of heightened conflict. When we were first dating and first married, we got into some pretty hot and heavy fights, and, you know, door slamming, yelling, screaming, all of that. And sometimes I think actually that's really healthy. You know, as much as people want to dream about like a perfect marriage where everything is happily ever after, I think regardless of cross-cultural issues, there are places where people are different. And so having the time and the space where you can fight about things, as long as it doesn't get physically violent, which we're very good about most of the time. We've sometimes sometimes hit and kick things, but not each other. Because you know, when two people really care, they get involved in a way where you do care, and so things really matter, and so emotions get involved. Sometimes it takes us some time to back off, and, you know, I think what we've been able to do as we've spent more time together is find, you know, better times to talk about things. But even that, you know, it's a constant process of learning and evolving and trying to do better. And I think at the end, you know, it's a matter of how much you're willing to sacrifice and how much of yourself you're willing to kind of give up in order to mend fences after big battles. So.
Question here. Chinese marriages, some parents will keep the marriages without love just for the kids. What do you think about that?
Yeah, that's a heavy one. I mean, the right way, it's not my place to judge people's marriages. You know, I feel like after 11 years, we're just getting started and we're just learning about each other still every day. And, you know, I think marriage is a very personal journey that two people embark upon. And I think I've talked to a lot of people who have told me that their parents only stayed together for them and that they felt bad for their parents and that they wish that their parents would be divorced.
Really?
But that's anecdotal, and I can't say that that's correct either. My parents were separated when I was very young, and it taught me resilience. I had to learn to cope with that. It was hard for me, and I suffered a lot because of that. But I think a lot of life is about that struggle. So, you know, parents struggle to do the right thing for their children. And personally, for me, I guess, I think the thing that keeps the marriage alive is that the two of us, my wife and I, really do care deeply about each other. And you know, it's always trying to do a better job of showing that. It's not always easy. You know, life gets really busy and hectic, and sometimes we forget to show I forget to show her how much she means to me. She's actually usually better at taking the time to, you know, do little things that matter and take care of little details. And I'm more of a big grand gesture type of person, and sometimes those fall flat, so it can be frustrating. Um, but for me, I'm kind of a hopeless romantic, and so I believe that if the marriage is not of itself of value to the couple, then it won't last. And you know, when the kids grow up and go away, then you're left with a kind of a shell of a marriage because it was all about the kids, and eventually the kids grow up and they go away. So I don't know. That's my take on it. But I don't think there's any right or wrong answers. I think everybody has to come to a marriage on their own terms.
Sure.